Hello, my name is Tanner Walsh, and this is my presentation called Preparing for the Future. It's an analysis of overpopulation, which is basically the point when humanity reaches or exceeds the carrying capacity of Earth, and then also stem cell research, which is currently uh, advancing field in the field of medical technology that focuses on the research of cells, specifically human embryonic cells, and the controversy and conversation that comes up with that topic. So I'm going to start off by talking about overpopulation. So human overpopulation is defined as a tipping point in which the number of existing people on Earth exceeds the carrying capacity of the planet itself. Um, Overpopulation can affect many different species and environments or ecosystems, but the human overpopulation focuses on that of the whole planet and the human race. Things that correlate to overpopulation include a reduced mortality rate, increasing medical technology, and a depletion of the Earth's resources by the humans. Immediate factors and effects of this include lacking fresh water, um, an increase in factory farming, and a basically demand for that, or it becomes no longer a necessity but something that we need to survive and sustain our population. Improper sanitation practices, basically having sewage systems become extremely overused and not able to process the amount of feces, and in turn polluting lots of waterways and natural, whether it be foods, places where you get food, or rivers and lakes. And then also things like a lack of clean water or a lack of food correlate to an increase in crime, especially in that of impoverished and third world countries. Some long term effects of overpopulation include mass species extinction, depletion of the overall planet's natural resources, and global warming in general. Basically, what is our future going to look like with overpopulation continuing to grow at the rate that it is? And this is kind of my take on this situation as well, and what I think would be the best way to combat this situation. I believe that as of right now, while we are making strides towards increasing awareness about overpopulation and environmental consciousness, there's still not enough motivation or regard that the general population of Earth has for our planet. I think that while there are some first world countries that are making efforts to reduce their environmental impacts, and this is just being seen by, countries like the Western civilization in America is a leading proponent of these environmental movements, but we're still seeing very slow transitions, whether it be from gas cars to electric cars or solar power and alternative energy solutions. So these things are starting to take hold, and I think within 50 to 100 years, they'll become more of a mainstream forms of resources. But as of right now, this change is slow, and it's not outweighing the damage being caused by the amount of people in these countries. And the third world countries that are following these countries, the first world countries, are still going to continue to pollute and aren't going to be able to have the money and resources to start these environmental initiatives that many of the first world countries are able to sustain. I think that a practical solution to the overpopulation problem on our planet is to enact a two-child limit for families under normal circumstances. And I understand this might seem harsh right now, but I think that ultimately, as our population continues to grow and will almost predicted to double by 2030, that we will really start to see the effects of a lack of resources and a lack of space in general, especially in metropolitan and urban areas. That this factor will, or this law will be something that helps control and regulate the growth of our population to an extent that is a bit more sustainable than it is now. Even though it's not a long-term problem, it'll definitely give us a longer time period. All right, now I'm going to talk about stem cell research. Stem cell research involves the development, use, and destruction of human embryos in order to create living tissues, and stem cell lines is what it's referred to, which is basically a renewable source of tissue cells that can be harvested and grown for various reasons. Stem cell research first began around 30 years ago and was discovered when scientists were using mouse embryos. Stem cell research sparks a lot of controversy among different groups of people, and definitely one of the main groups would be those of the pro-life movement, who believe that embryos have the rights of humans and that destroying an embryo is considered murder. We'll look a bit more into those viewpoints and which are valid and which I believe to myself to not be valid in a second. Stem cell research has the possibility to cure a variety of tissue degenerating diseases, and embryonic tissues can grow indefinitely once they're in laboratory settings. Once a stem cell line is created from a destructed embryo, these lines grow by themselves and continue to produce new cells. So even if we were to stop all harvesting of embryo cells, it would be wasteful to not use the already existing stem cell lines that are being grown right now, as no new embryos are being killed to sustain these cell lines. Many religious groups frown upon stem cell research, as they claim that scientists are either playing God or not taking ethics seriously enough. And pro-life activists argue that cells from the umbilical cord are often more efficient and less destructive than that of embryo cells. However, I believe that this field of medical technology has shown extremely promising results and could cure many of the illnesses that are a deficit to humanity as we currently speak. I think that embryo use is warranted, and the possible benefits of embryonic stem cell research outweigh the theological or personal beliefs that one might have about the subject. Embryos that are used for research would otherwise be wasted and discarded, so it's not... Many people believe that stem cell research involves the destruction of perfectly healthy embryos, but that is not the case. As long as this practice is done humanely and monitored by governmental regulations, it will be a positive movement for humanity.